At a House Rules Committee hearing on Wednesday, Congressman Frank Pallone voiced his support of the Inflation Reduction Act. If the bill passes the House and is signed into law by President Joe Biden, who has signaled his support, it would authorize roughly $370 billion for energy and climate programs. This would be the biggest clean energy investment by the federal government in American history. The New Jersey Democrat touted the Inflation Reduction Act as, quote, landmark legislation that's going to help reduce costs for American families while aggressively tackling the climate crisis.
And Ranking Member Cole for the opportunity to speak before you today in support of the Inflation Reduction Act, and thank all the members of the Rules Committee. This is landmark legislation that's going to help reduce costs for American families while aggressively tackling the climate crisis at a time when extreme weather events are increasingly devastating communities around the nation. Now, I wanted to focus on the climate and health provisions in this legislation because much of that came from the Energy and Commerce Committee. But the bill tackles the climate crisis and protects our communities from its devastating impacts because it's the single largest investment in climate action in American history. It makes unparalleled investments in climate, clean energy, environmental justice, while creating new clean jobs and lowering energy costs for American families. One study of the legislation found that the average American household would save $1,800 a year on energy bills. Moreover, this bill will slash our nation's climate pollution 40% by 2030 and puts us on a track to meet our aggressive climate goals. So I'm pleased that the bill includes many of the climate and clean energy provisions that my Energy and Commerce Committee drafted and marked up last September. Notably, the methane emissions reduction program takes bold action to drive down dangerous methane pollution from the oil and gas industry by sparing innovation and holding polluters accountable for leaks of one of the most potent greenhouse gases. The Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund invests an unprecedented $27 billion to deploy low and zero emission technologies nationwide and harden our most vulnerable communities against climate disasters. These and other key provisions, such as common sense investments in clean heavy duty vehicles and home energy efficiency upgrades, make this bill one of the greatest victories for protecting the health of our climate and our communities. Now, the bill is also one of the most significant pieces of healthcare legislation to move through Congress in over a decade. It breaks Big Pharma's monopoly on prescription drug prices. The bill would lower prescription drug costs for seniors by finally empowering Medicare to negotiate the cost of prescription drugs and capping the amount seniors pay at at $2,000 annually. It also caps the cost of insulin at $35 a month for Medicare beneficiaries. Now, nearly 20 years ago, when I was here in Congress, Republicans prevented the federal government from negotiating fair prices for seniors, and this legislation reverses that egregious gift. And I don't like to use that term, but I do think it was totally inappropriate to actually put in Medicare Part D that we could not negotiate drug prices under Medicare. But the Republicans insisted on that, and it was basically a gift to Big Pharma. And now reversing that is going to save seniors and Medicare and the federal government a lot of money. The legislation finally levels the playing field and will help ensure seniors are no longer price gouged at the pharmacy counter. It also penalizes big pharma companies for unfairly hiking prices on seniors by linking the price to inflation, so that if they go above that in their prices, and they have to pay a rebate back to the federal government. So I'm pleased that the legislation will dramatically lower the cost of monthly health care premiums. This is the Affordable Care Act provision for millions of Americans and provide families with the peace of mind that comes with knowing they have high quality care. 5 million Americans have gained access to health care coverage over the last 2 years, thanks to Democrats' efforts to make it more affordable. So when we passed the American Rescue Plan last year, we provided additional financial assistance for more of our Americans by enhancing the Affordable Care Act's marketplace premium subsidies for lower income and middle income Americans for the years 2021 and 22. And this bill makes healthcare more affordable for millions by extending this assistance and basically enhanced subsidies or tax credits through 2025 for another 3 years. This makes a real difference for families. It delivers an average savings of $2,400 to a family of four. And again, I'm pleased that this legislation is going to extend our efforts for 3 more years. So today really marks a breakthrough in our response to the climate crisis and helps lower costs for families all around the nation. it's critically important that we pass this bill this week. I heard you, Chairman McGovern, talk about how significant this piece of legislation is. And I don't think there's anything, maybe with the exception of the Affordable Care Act when it passed, over a decade ago, that I'm more proud of these provisions that came out of our Energy and Commerce Committee, because they really are going to make a difference to not only to the average American, but also to what we mean as a country. So thank you again. And with that, I yield back.
Thank you very